Boy, if you run into a roadblock, let me know.
I don't ever get to use that thing during the meeting. Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody this morning. Brand new year. It's good to see everybody. We do have a quorum. I appreciate that a whole lot. But I thank you for being here today. Of course, we're going to be honored to be joined by the Deputy Governor, Butch Eley. So he's not here yet, I understand, but we're going to move through our action items pretty quick to give him ample time to speak to us and answer questions and give us information on the governor's policies on the TDOT and everything. And I think it's very important. We appreciate him taking time out of his busy time to be here today. Okay, let's move on right quick. First order of business is to approve the minutes in the November package. I need a motion to approve. Got a motion by Mayor Moore. Got a second by Mayor Hutto. Any questions? Concerns? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, minutes are filed. Thank you. At this time, we'll move into our public comments. If there's anyone open to come to the membership here and speak on Transportation Policy Board, and also need to note that comments will be emailed through GNRC.org. Is anyone here who'd like to speak to us from the public? Wow, seeing none, we'll move on. Thank you. Okay, we'll go into our action items, and you can tell we're moving on. We're moving on. Your package includes a proposed meeting schedule for the Transportation Policy Board, along with the other GNRC boards and committees, and this board is scheduled to meet on the third Wednesday of odd number of months. We found that out last week. Is there any questions to that about our meeting schedule and how it's going to be conducted? Because Michael Skipper is right here. No one has any questions for Michael? How about Sean? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to, sir? Need a motion to adopt that schedule. Yes, sir. I got a motion. I need a second. Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. That motion passes. Wow, this is really important. We're moving to election of officers. I'd like to recognize Mayor Reed of Smyrna. She's chairman of the nominating board. Mayor Reed, you do have the floor.
Good morning and Happy New Year. First of all, I would like to thank Paige Brown from the City of Gallatin, Mayor Hutto from Wilson County, and myself. We all served on the nominating committee. And the slate of nominees that we want to bring before this committee is for Robertson County Mayor Billy Vogel to continue as chair over the next year, and Mayor Mike Callis from the City of Portland as our vice chair. I think Mayor Vogel has done an excellent job, and I think Mayor Callis will do an outstanding job as well. He's been serving on our
task force.
I couldn't think of the word. Thank you for helping me out there. He has served on our task force and done a great job and has really been digging in, and I think he will serve as well as vice chair and then moving up to chair. So the nominating committee will put forth this slate of officers.
Okay, is there any additional nominees coming from the floor? Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to remember that. Okay, thank you. All right, you are the guru. That comes from Mayor Rogers Anderson. Okay, I need a motion to elect Billy Vogel and Mike Callis as chair and co-chair. You made that motion. I need a second. I made the motion. All right, need a second. I told you he's a guru. I got a second. But Mayor Moore, all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? I want to thank the nominating committee for having faith in me. I hear on a lot of my committee meetings that the devil you know is better than the one you don't. I've been told that a lot. But I appreciate the vote of confidence. Following Mayor Reed is very hard to do. She does a great job, and I appreciate the work she does for our committee. Okay, we're going to move on now to item C. It's the annual roadway safety targets. I'm going to turn it over to Sean as our transportation planning manager.
Thank you, Chair. So federal law requires states and MPOs to establish performance measure targets for a number of categories, including safety, infrastructure condition, system performance, and asset management. You're probably most familiar with safety, which we are required to adopt annually, and we kind of have the option of either supporting state targets or adopting our own regional targets for our metropolitan planning organization. And the initial years we supported the state's targets, but since 2021 we have elected to set our own targets for the region for safety, and we tied that to a long-term goal of reducing fatalities and serious injuries out to 2045 as part of our adoption of our regional transportation plan. And so what we have today are some annual updates to those targets that align with that long-term 2045 goal. And I'm going to turn it over to Ashley here in a second, and she's going to give you an overview or a summary of some of the crash data within our region over the past year, and then how we use that data to inform updates to our targets. Ashley?
Hi, I'm Ashley Glasscock. Can y'all hear me? Make sure. A little short. So how we did so far this year is going to be the first thing I'm going to cover. So this is looking at 2022 year-to-date numbers. So the number of people that we had involved in a crash was roughly 125,000 people involved in a crash so far. That was about one person every 5 minutes. And that, just for context, is the equivalent to 2 times the capacity of the Nissan Stadium. For fatalities, it was one of the deadliest years to date. 275 people were killed. That's about 5 per week. And just to put that into context again, that's about 2 Boeing 737 aircraft. For serious injuries, we had 1,419 people seriously injured. That's roughly 4 people a day. That's more than the capacity of the General Jackson showboat. And then for non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, we had about 1 every other day. It was about 222, one of the highest years on record. And that's about the equivalent of 3 WeGo transit buses. I'm only going to cover one of these charts. You have all 3 in your packet. This shows in gray the historic year-to-year fatalities. It shows the initial baseline that we used to set the targets. So that 1% annual reduction against that baseline, that's the 196.6. For 2022, we had originally set a target for keeping fatalities under 191 people. We unfortunately exceeded that by getting 275. And then if we want to try to stay on our goal to 152 fatalities by the year 2045, we need fatalities to stay under 189 for this next upcoming year. And then this table just summarizes all of our targets for this past year. So for number of fatalities, like I said, we had set it for 191. We came in at 275. Therefore, we missed that target. And fatality rate and serious injury rates we're not able to determine right now. We don't have HPMS data available. But number of serious injuries, we had set the target at 1,310, and we came in at 1,419. Therefore, we missed that target as well. And then for number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries, we had originally set that target to keep it under 173, and we actually had 222. Therefore, we missed that target as well. And then the last column reminds you of what those 2045 long-term goals are. And then in orange, you can see the new 2023 target. That's the annual target, as well as the 5-year federal highway design target as well. And so I'll pass it back off to Sean to ask for.
Great, thank you, Ashley. And so our requested action of the board today is adoption of resolution approving the annual update to our regional safety performance measure targets.
Okay, any questions for Sean or Ashley? Mayor?
Actually, why is this going the wrong direction?
There's a lot that can speculate why it's going in the wrong direction. We took a look at some demographic factors and some driving behaviors. We're seeing a lot of speeding-related crashes, and when we look at NRIC data, trying to look at volume over time, we're starting to see that the volume of traffic is spreading out across the day, meaning less people are in congestion, meaning less people are having to go slower speeds, so they're able to go faster. So therefore, we're not necessarily hurting people anymore. We're now killing them. We also looked at the people that are involved, so young drivers. We're looking at a massive spike in ages 18 to 24 that are being involved, and then we also saw a big issue with fatalities and people not wearing seatbelts. So, yeah.
How about the response times of medical crews getting there? Are we seeing a slowdown in that? Because that's going to also affect your fatalities if they're not able to get these people to the hospital.
And that's what we're also looking at.
Okay.
We're also going to analyze that data once it comes in, actual incident response times. But we have seen, I don't know if you have seen in the news lately, that's been a big issue, is that dispatch time is going up, even though the number of phone calls is going down. So that's becoming quite an issue.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Both of those are good questions. Anyone else?
How is that determined? Is there a sliding scale for increase in traffic and cars on the road versus being able to meet the target? So more cars on the road this year. How do you not account for fatality?
Do you, Ashley, you understand the question?
Yeah, I think
With more cars on the road, would that
expect to see more
maybe our
fatalities.
expectations are too high or whatever?
I mean, that's kind of the idea behind most of the state targets, is that you see an increase on volume, and therefore you're expecting people, just due to exposure, to have more fatalities. What we're hoping is that we can have other actions that can hopefully drive that trend opposite and still get that same larger volume of vehicles safely to their location.
I think we also saw, too, during the pandemic, we saw a drop in VMT, but we saw a spike in fatalities, so we've seen kind of the counter to that trend.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir.
So do you not measure these statistics on miles driven?
We do look at fatality rate and seriously injured rate. So we look at the 100 million vehicle miles traveled in that year and try to normalize it based off that. And we're also seeing an increase in that as well.
Well, that's why I was asking, because if our miles driven is going up, it would therefore be understood that the fatality rate might also go up, but the rate per miles driven might also go down. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So if your miles driven could be going up faster than the fatality rate, but I didn't see that on your graphic there.
Yeah, we couldn't analyze 2022 fatality rate or serious injury rate yet because we don't have HPMS data available from the state.
Anyone else? I'd just like to add that I've noticed when we're doing construction on interstates and roads, it seems like we have a lot more accidents. People kind of rubbernecking and maybe driving too fast into the construction zones and not being able to stop quick enough. It seems like it's a big problem. And I don't know what the answer is as far as my capacity, but I've noticed that in Robertson County where the interstate's been, thank goodness we're having a new interstate put in up toward Kentucky and widening, but we seem like we're having a wreck every day because of the construction. Does anyone else got a comment? If not, I'll entertain a motion. to adopt this resolution? Got a motion, need a second? Got a second, all in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? Resolution is adopted. At this time, we're gonna take a curve here. I'm gonna turn it over to Michael Skipper. He's gonna introduce someone and we'll move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll go ahead and defer action on item 3D, which is the regional rankings for the 3-year work program, until after we hear remarks from our special guest. So thanks for your patience on that. But at this time, I'd love to invite Commissioner Eley to the floor to talk about TDOT's and the governor's Build With Us proposal, enabling legislation to help really speed up project delivery across the state, do more with limited resources. Mayor's been working with Commissioner Eley on transportation issues for several years now. I really appreciate his dedication to the matter and looking forward to his leadership at TDOT and his new role with the state of Tennessee. So, Commissioner, you're up.
Hey, thank you, Michael. Good morning, everybody. See a lot of friendly faces and glad. Thank you all for being here. I know that this is an important issue, near and dear to everyone's heart in here. Also, shout out. We've got a number of our staff here from the regional office, and appreciate the dedication of everybody at TDOT that is has the same dedication as everybody in this room. And so, thank you for that. So, over the last few months, I've seen and talked to a number of you in this room, and I know that I think all pretty much agree on the fact that we're at a very critical juncture as to where we are in infrastructure, in transportation in Tennessee. And when I think about the role that we play, I think it's hard to imagine when you think about what we do as a state government and what we do as county governments throughout Middle Tennessee and the state, to think about any service that we provide for our citizens that is any more utilized day in, day out than transportation. I mean, and we all know that, and I think about our access. If we're going to continue the access to health care, whether it's rural or urban, if we're going to continue education access, if we're going to continue the ability for people to get to their jobs, families to get to their kids' ball games. I mean, literally, this is something that we all have the benefit of every day. And so we're kind of limited on time today, and so I don't think I need to spend much time with this group convincing you that we have an issue in transportation or congestion or mobility in our region. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the challenges, because I know that everybody in this room is living these challenges day in, day out. And so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I do believe that from a baseline, first of all, I want to go back to safety. So we lost our first transportation department employee this year. This guy's name was Trent Johnston. He was a bridge inspector in Memphis. He lost his life crossing the interstate on I-55 bridge in Memphis. And that was my worst day since being here. And I know that when I see these statistics that we just went through that everybody in this room feels the importance of what we do about safety every day. And so I feel like we need to base everything we do looking at the importance of how we operate and making sure that safety is always our first consideration, not just for our employees, but for the public that is out there. Real quickly, we all know the stories. We all know all the positive things that are going on in this region, in this MPO. We all know how much growth we're having and dealing with that. And so we know that with a lot of those positive things also comes challenges, right? And so these couple of slides on the left-hand side, just everybody in this room knows this, but it's a good reminder of, that straight line at the bottom there just shows our lane miles compared to our vehicle miles traveled on the bottom and our population on the top. And so, we've got both figures with the exception of the year with the pandemic of exceeding growth. And so we recognize that we've got this growing gap of between where we are and what we're doing and what we need to be doing to stay ahead of the curve for sure, but just to stay level with where we are is investment that we need to be making day in, day out. And so as we think about those challenges, I kind of put them in three buckets from the department's standpoint. One is congestion, the other is delivery, and the other is workforce. And we're all having issues with workforce, trying to recruit and retain good workers, and that's going to continue to be a challenge as we move forward. But one of the things that's facing us square in the eyes is congestion. And we've done congestion studies in all four of our major urban areas. Preston is overseeing that, and we know that we've got a lot of red. Red is good. Red is bad. We know. And in these congestion studies, we've scored through ABCDF, and we got way too much level of service at an F that we need to take action on. And so what we're trying to do as we move forward is to look at what we can do in this coming session to be able to come up with some solutions to some of these issues. One of the things, just to start out, the upper right there, when the governor looked at this, he's coming into his second term, and he could probably kick the can down the road and leave this for someone else. But he believes, as I believe, that this is too important for us to kick the can down the road and not do anything now, because I really believe that the actions that we take now in this session are going to determine really where we are in generations to come. And so one of the things that we're not going to do is to do nothing. I think that there is, we got the Improve Act passed in 2017, which we're still working through, and we still have a lot of work to do. That program started at 10, 12 billion 5-6 years ago. We still got more than half of it, probably 70% of it to go, and we're up now to about 16 billion in that Improve Act program alone, with projects that we still have to do that were part of the statute in the Improve Act. I don't think there's any inertia for moving forward with any kind of tax increase or debt in this coming session, but we think there are things that can be done, and I would point out that this is not just an urban issue. We know we've got issues with congestion in our urban areas, but that's that bottom middle. That's where we know that we've got major issues, but we also have issues growing in suburban areas that not all of you, many of you are very familiar with, as well as some of our rural areas. So we're going to, so I think one of the solutions we have will allow us to address both as we move through this. One of the first things I mentioned, congestion. We've done our own studies with these congestion studies. I mentioned our TASER, our state Commission on Intergovernmental Relations, did their own study that most of you are familiar with. It came back with a $34 billion number that was needed to address congestion in our state. And so whether it's 26 or 30 or 34, it's a big number. And we know that we need to be addressing that. If you take the $26 billion number need, and you look at what we're actually bringing in taxes from both gas taxes from both the state and federal level, our program, annual program at TDOT, is around 1.2 billion annually, and most of that, over half of that, goes to state of good repair, making sure that we're resurfacing roadways, interstates, taking care of bridges, maintaining the assets that we already have. And that leaves us around $500 million a year to do new projects to address capacity or congestion issues. I don't need to tell the people in this room that we got 4 regions, so if we divide that, somewhat equally among our 4 regions throughout the state, that leaves us with, a little over $100 million per year to address the problem that we have. That's a $30 billion plus problem. So I'm not a math major, but it doesn't take a math major to realize that the numbers don't work. And so we need to be doing something. There's a couple of things that we can do, and so that's what we're going to be proposing. The governor will be proposing this year basically three main components of what the legislation that'll be filed will do. One addresses the ability to do public-private partnerships. Many of you were around a few years ago know that we have the ability to do the authorization to do public-private partnerships for transit in Tennessee, but we do not have the ability to do road-related P3 projects. And the governor asked me to look at what other states are doing, kind of scan the country to look at what other states are doing that have already been where we are headed. And one of the things that stands out in the upper left-hand corner is most states have the ability to do and are authorized to do public-private partnerships, which just means, what that means is that the state can partner with the private sector to design, build, operate, and maintain a stretch of roadway that they lease to this partnership to be able to operate a roadway. And the way that we're proposing to do that is through choice lanes. Some of you are familiar. This is not the traditional toll road where you have to pay to get on a road to go from point A to point B. This is entirely by choice. This is a managed lane that we're seeing. How many of you have driven on a managed lane somewhere in the? Almost everybody. Almost everybody. And these are lanes that are additional lanes that we could partner with the private sector to come in and build, that will allow us to give people a choice to be able to get onto a choice lane and to get to where they're going in a dependable, reliable manner. What I would also say is that every state that we have talked to that is doing this has seen tremendous advantages from a transit standpoint, because transit buses are typically allowed on these managed lanes, choice lanes, and they've increased reliability, obviously, considerably. They've had reduction in travel times, and they have increased ridership. So all three of those things are advantages or benefits that we have seen from our studies in looking at these choice lanes around the country. And so these are, we just put this up. This is not a new thing in that other people are doing this. And it's not uncommon that we enter into these agreements to lease property or land to be able to do a long-term contract, to be able to allow someone to come in and operate our existing asset. We always maintain ownership. At no point do we give over any ownership, and so we maintain that throughout. So that's one of the things that we'll be doing. I already kind of mentioned this as we went. The one thing I will point out is that paving new road is not the only answer here. I think we all know that it's part of what we need to do, but we need to integrate components of park and ride, bus on shoulders, rapid transit into these agreements to where we can get the maximum advantage out of that. And I'll say also a part of that, thinking outside the box, is looking at technology. All of you are familiar with what we're doing on I-24. That's just a taste of what we can be doing, but being able to coordinate and work, utilizing technology to get more throughput through our existing assets is an absolute part of us being able to take advantage of technology to get us where we need to go. The second piece of this this proposal has to do with alternative delivery, and really that is both internal and external from the standpoint of we're changing a lot of how we operate internally, looking more at a project management model and moving away from the traditional, what I'll call kind of assembly line or model of being able to do our development of projects, more toward more toward this NASCAR pit row concept of doing things simultaneously. And so we're reorganizing internally to be able to get our people working together more, not in silos, where when we start a project, we start with the end in mind. We bring the maintenance guys into the project team so that from the very beginning of the project, we're thinking about who's going to be operating that and what that looks like, who's going to be maintaining that, what it looks like. So a lot of that is what we need to do internally. 15 years, way too long to deliver a project. There's reasons for that. We know there's reasons, but a lot of them we can circumvent. We can move more quickly, especially on the development phase. And so we want to cut that in half, and a big part of that is through our ability to do more alternative delivery. All of y'all know that we're currently restricted to only doing 5 design build projects annually, and we're restricted on the amount of CMGC projects. You know, that was done in order to kind of create a pilot to be able to make sure that those worked in Tennessee for us. We've done several projects which have worked very well, and Will and his team know that we could do a lot more, and we could save not just a lot of money, but we could save a lot of time. And when you think about the time it takes, by the time we get to construction, the original estimate that we made 11 years prior, when we go to construction, ends up being about 40% higher than when we started that project 11 years prior. And so we know time is money, you know time is money, and if we can make that process quicker, then it'll make a positive result. The third component is electric vehicle, and this one's pretty simple. We also are very clear. We all know that our current gas tax long term is not going to sustain what we need to be able to continue to grow as we are. And so what we're looking at, what we need to do to deal with that. The first step of that, I think, is to try to make sure that we get parity between our electric vehicles, which we know we're just barely started. We got less than 1% electric vehicles in Tennessee, but currently there's a $100 registration for those vehicles. We know that through our data that the amount that a person pays in a gas combustion engine car pays around $300, a little more, to be able to operate, to be able to pay the gas tax, both federal and state, each year. And so we're going to be proposing to increase electric vehicles up to that same amount, recognizing that when we look out, we've run the numbers Preston has in 28 with just 200,000 vehicles. That's equivalent to around 30 or 40 million dollars. You know, as we move forward, we all know that this is going to be a bigger and bigger part of the revenue stream, and so we're proposing to go ahead and take action on those fronts. So I'm gonna stop with that, Michael. I'm happy to answer any questions. I also want to end by saying that I think we're at maybe the most critical time. Hand me that book right there. So some of you know I'm a little bit of a history buff, but when I came over to TDOT, I found that used to the commissioner did a annual report and laid out what kind of what the department was doing, and so I've gone back and found as many of these as I can find and read them. And what I think is significant is that I really believe that we're sitting here today, and we're in as close to the same position as we've been in 75 years at least back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s when we were investing heavily in our infrastructure, and we need to be investing in our infrastructure if we want to continue on the projection that we are. Then we need to be investing in infrastructure if we want to provide the access to education and health care and jobs. If we want our people in the rural and urban areas to be able to get to where they need to go to take care of their business day in, day out, and we need to invest in infrastructure, and that's all kinds of infrastructure. That's all modes of infrastructure, and that's working together as a group, people in this room, and the people throughout the state, and TDOT, to help you and work with you and us do the things we need to do to help the people in Tennessee. And I think we're at a very critical point, and I think we've got a huge opportunity to walk through this year with our legislature. And I need your help. We've got the legislature that I have met with, the legislative members I met with, understand that we have challenges and that we need to address them. And so this is an opportunity for us to step through there and make a difference for generations to come. And so I appreciate your public service. I know that it's not easy, and I appreciate what you do day in, day out. And so thank you for that, and look forward to continuing to work through this session. Michael?
Thank you, Commissioner. I suspect there are questions and comments from the floor. Before I open it up, though, I do want to thank you for being here and your dedication to transportation, as I was saying beforehand. Also, I really appreciate you bringing the leadership team today. We're really excited about the energy coming out of TDOT as you look to the future. And I know you're assembled some really talented people. I look forward to seeing the evolution of the department in the coming years. I know you've got about 10 minutes for questions before you need to head on to your next meeting. So we'll keep an eye on the clock. 10 past the hour will be our target there. But questions?
Commissioner?
Yes,
thank
sir.
you. This is exciting. And this change of course is something that I personally embrace, and I hope the rest of this body will embrace, and I look forward to what it's going to do generationally for the future. I'd like to ask our staff to create a resolution that we could consider in the February meeting at the Greater Nashville Regional Council to support the efforts that you and the governor are making with the General Assembly and express our support. Give us a little bit of chance to fully understand what you're proposing, but these proposals are exciting, and it's a changing time, and the fact that this is going to get rid of congestion or help us start to get rid of congestion.
Just don't say get rid of it.
It's a welcome thing.
It will definitely help address it. For sure.
Well, thank you, and if staff would consider doing that resolution and bringing that forward to our next meeting, so we can fully understand it.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Eley, good to see you again.
Yes, sir.
You asked for our help a minute ago. Can you give us some specifics about how we can help you?
Well, I think that each of you have your own responsibilities of jurisdictions and know the issues that you're having in being able to deal with the challenge that we just laid out. And so I think a lot of it is communicating with your constituencies and informing them, helping to inform them. We need to be a good repository to you for information as to how this works. I think this whole idea of public-private partnership, this whole idea of choice lanes is obviously new to us in Tennessee. And there's, as I showed you, most states are doing it in some way, shape, or form. It's not new to the country. It's certainly not new to the South. We're kind of the only state now that is not doing it. These choice lanes are done in Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Virginia. I mean, and very successfully. And let me say a word on how that works and how it can make a difference in that. Right now, the biggest project we've ever done in Tennessee is like 130 or 160. The I-65 expansion up to the state line in Kentucky. It's around $160 million project. Largest project the state of Tennessee has ever done. As a result of what I just described a while ago about the $500 million, and when you split that up, what that means is that we can't do a major project without breaking it up into little bite sizes. And, when we do that, our citizens have to deal with that for years, because you do one piece, then you do another piece, and then you do another piece, as opposed to trying to get in and get out and get it done. And so, when we start looking at addressing, as a result of that, splitting up the pie, it kind of takes off of the table many of the solutions for some of the major challenges that we have here in Middle Tennessee. And, as I showed, it's not just Middle Tennessee. Every major urban area in the state has these major projects that need to be done that are way over $150 million. And so I'm just going to use an example, but if we can bring to the table a private sector partner that would put up in a project in whatever area of Tennessee, let's say it's a $500 million solution to a major project, and they would be willing to pay $400 million toward the revenue that would come off of these choice lanes. That's $400 million that we don't have in our budget today that we can reallocate to other parts of the state to be able to do widening of interstates in projects that we know. I think everybody here recognizes. I mean, we got a lot of two-lane alignment of interstate that's been the same since we got here. If we can marry that with being able to help transit, look at, you can address these RFPs requiring bus on shoulder, requiring BRT, requiring park and ride, requiring carpooling, being able to look at that and being able to increase your throughput in those roadways, it can make a tremendous difference in this situation that we're looking at. And we can take those dollars and leverage that into doing much more investment in in the needed infrastructure that we have. If you can do that in each area and we can multiply that over time, then it will allow us to get much more solution, multimodal and otherwise, into our system. And so that's I think communicating with your citizens and communicating with other public officials is something that we need to do. We're certainly going to be doing that with our legislature. We're now I'm leaving here, going to meet with a group, and just trying to make sure everybody understands the details. I mean, we're wanting to make sure that people understand what we're talking about here, and that it's not really revolutionary. It's more evolutionary in how we're trying to create a solution for this issue. So, thank you for that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I noticed, I like your block up there, your text block up there, of what it does do. When we go out talking about this program, what are we going to hear today? What's the outcome?
Well, when I think about what we're trying to accomplish, I think the upside far outweighs the downside, and there are some, I'm sure, that would say we don't need the private sector involved. We need to raise taxes to get this done. I don't think the governor's certainly not. We went through that a few years ago for the first time in 20 plus years. We got what we could get, which I think has been a very positive addition, but it's barely kept up with inflation. All right, so what we did in 2017, we still got a huge backlog from the Improve Act that we're still working down. And by the way, that includes very little of the congestion issue that many of you are facing today. So most of that congestion issue that we found through TASER and our congestion studies is over and above what was found in the Improve Act. The things that I'm hearing, there is fear out there on these public-private partnerships that relate to international companies that are doing these projects in other states, but there is a very there's a process that is very competitive. We do most of our work. I think most of y'all all realize that the contracting that we already do is all by. We don't build roads. I mean, we do some potholes and small stuff with TDOT, but the major building that goes on is done through our partnership with the private sector. Our Tennessee contractors, road builders, and others that are qualified to come in are the people who are building these roads, and they build them, and we can require them to build them to the standard. There's also concern about, well, they'll come in and build them, and I mean, we've got the ability to hold their feet to the fire just like we do now with any road that the private sector contractors build in Tennessee. And so I don't have a concern about that. I've seen it work successfully, but that's one of the things that you'll likely hear as part of this process. As it relates to the alternative delivery, it's not even a new process anymore. It's being done very successfully in virtually every other state now, more so than what we're doing. There are some people that are not quite there yet in wanting to do that, but we're working hand in hand with our contractor community, and we've got a great group of contractors in this state that can do this and add value to the state in doing this. So, that's the main thing. You got the state of Wyoming that's banning. They want to ban electric vehicles. We don't want to do that. We love the partnership that we have with the electric vehicle manufacturing industry. This is by no means any kind of way to diminish that. We love that partnership. We love being able to have their investment in Tennessee. We've invested very much in building that electric vehicle manufacturing in Tennessee, and we'll continue to do that every way we can. And we don't feel like this is a deterrent in that in any way. I think most people who buy electric vehicles are doing so to save gas dollars largely, and I don't think this amount will deter that in any way. But I'm sure that we'll hear more and more about that as we go. So, all right, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah, Commissioner, we promised to wrap up our Q&A by 11:15, so you can get on to the Cordell Hole. But I appreciate the questions. Really good discussion this morning. Mayor Moore, I hear your request. We'll facilitate some additional discussion amongst the board to get to a point where the regional council can entertain a resolution of support. Of course, I think there'll probably be a lot more conversation with the commissioner through other forums like the Mayor's Caucus, the RTA, the other bodies that you all serve on in the coming weeks and months. So, Commissioner, leadership team, thanks for being here today. And then for the members of the board, we do have some additional business to take care of, another action item that requires your attention. So I do ask that you hang out after the commissioner leaves.
Good. Hey, just thank everybody again for being here, your attention today, and for your service every day. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner. I notice you're doing dual roles. You're staying pretty busy. I know your time is probably very short. I haven't got but one county to mess with, and you got 95. So I do feel for you. And tell the governor we appreciate the work he's doing for us, too. Thank you. Okay, we'll move back to our action items again. We're going to start with item D, which will be our 3-year work program and the regional rankings for that program. I'm going to turn it back over to Sean.
Thank you, Chair. So this item is we'll be discussing TDOT's 3-year work program and how MPOs are weighing into that process. TDOT has provided us with a list of candidates that is being considered for the upcoming 3-year work program, and that list was included in your packet. Just a little bit of context, how this work program factors into the overall state budget is that it identifies those priorities that are going to be within that first year of the upcoming budget. And TDOT is, through this process, TDOT seeks input from not only the metropolitan planning organizations, but also the rural planning organizations, the RPOs across the state, to help them prioritize these candidates. And since 2015, just a little bit of context, this policy board has ranked the candidate list of projects really kind of guided by our regional transportation plan priorities and giving strong priority to those projects that are more shovel ready so that those projects are moving forward to completion. The next slide. The proposed list of projects contains nearly 60 projects totaling $3 billion in funding needed. As you just heard the commissioner say, there's about $500 million available each year for new roadway capacity, which a lot of these projects are. And so there is a lot more in terms of need than there is in available funding. just, theoretically, even if we were to implement this whole list of projects and take all of the funding that's available statewide, we're looking at, at least 6 years to implement these projects. And so just keep that in mind as you look through this list of projects. It is an extensive list of needs. You're familiar with a lot of them. Over 90% of them are Improve Act projects. So not a lot of new projects that have been identified. And about a third of those projects have not yet started preliminary engineering. And so two-thirds are, at least started some phase of work, but about one-third have not yet started. So what we have in your packet is the candidate list of ranked projects based on that methodology that we've used for the past 6 or 7 years. And what we would be proposing to submit to TDOT would be that ranked list of candidate projects. In addition, any feedback from staff of alignment with our regional transportation plan or our TIP. And then most importantly, local feedback from not only our TCC members, but our Transportation Policy Board members on these projects, if there's any community expectations for design of these projects, or the sequencing of which one goes first, or any things to be aware of to when the construction moves forward to mitigate some of those impacts of the local community. Any other suggestions or concerns that you may have. And so if you do have any of that feedback, feel free to relay it today, or you can also email it to Anna, and we can include that in the packet of information that we ultimately submit to TDOT. So our requested action of the board today would be to endorse the regional rankings of proposed projects for the 3-year work program to be submitted to TDOT.
Okay, any questions for maybe more?
I'm willing to make the motion to approve this, but with a comment, if I could. Go ahead with my comment. Whenever I look at the list, it is an expensive list, as you know, but I'm looking at projects that are in Williamson County, Mac Hatcher Parkway widening, and Columbia Avenue or State Route 6. There are 3 different segments of that particular project. I'm not going to ask that anything be re-ranked, but I would ask that because to consider sequencing the projects in a different way. Currently, if you do State Route 6, it's going to feed into Franklin, and the bottleneck will be Mac Hatcher Parkway. And similarly, we have a project that's fully funded, Columbia Avenue, within our city limits, that's going to be going to 4 lanes, and so that's also going to create additional issues as far as southeast Mac Hatcher. So I would just ask that that some type of correspondence be attached to the ranking list, emphasizing how it may be important to consider the sequencing there that could possibly help relieve some of the congestion that it might create.
Noted. Thank you. Anyone else?
I noticed on the ranking list, the first page doesn't have a ranking number with it, but then the following pages do have the ranking numbers associated with it. I didn't know if those were ones that were already committed funding, if that was part of the reasoning there.
Yeah, thank you, Andy. This year, TDOT did identify certain projects as committed, those that are contained within the existing 3-year work program. So those are those projects on the first page. Assuming that those are committed and moving forward, we started the ranking with the proposed projects or those that are being considered for the next 3-year work program.
Anyone else? Okay, we need a motion now to, I got a motion. for the regional ranking, the projects for TDOT two-year program. Need a second. Got a second? All in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? That resolution does pass. Okay, we'll move down to our regular reports. Chair recognizes Sean Santala for our Fed report.
Hey, morning everyone. Sean Santaya, Program Development Team Leader with the Federal Highway Administration. Just a couple of items for the board's interest today. First, I wanted to introduce a couple of new staff on our team. So to my left here is Melanie Murphy, a new transportation planner that joined us about 6 weeks ago. Worked previously for TDOT. So Melanie is going to be our main point of contact for your committee members, for the MPO staff within this region. And then back in the audience there is Zach Coleman. Zach is also a new planner to our team. Joined us from New York State, Orange County. Worked for an MPO up there. So we're excited to have new staff on board to assist you guys. And if you need anything, we'll be here to help. Wanted to mention last month, a U.S. DOT released a notice of funding opportunity for our RAISE program. So $1.5 billion that we'll be doing a call for applications for projects with local and regional significance. Those applications are due by February 28th, and that program is eligible for applications from cities, counties, MPOs, transit operators, and tribal governments. So if you have any candidate projects, would definitely encourage everyone to be looking into that RAISE notice of funding opportunity. That's all we had. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Sean?
Yeah. I'll take it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, moving right along, we'll go to our TDOT report. And again, Commissioner Elliott.
I think you heard enough from TDOT today, but appreciate the opportunity to have the Commissioner come and speak to you about an important topic. I want to say also, the Commissioner kind of alluded to the congestion studies and the data and analysis from the regional plan that the MPO adopts, the efforts that are taking place within this body served as a great foundational analysis that we used in the congestion study for this particular urban area. So that also was modeled in Knoxville, Chattanooga, and Memphis. What I'd like to do today is, you probably noticed we have quite a few TDOT staff that are actually here. Just so they can raise their hand, just so you can get a magnitude of who's here from TDOT. Yeah, there you go.
Wow.
So if you have a need for a question relative to a project in your city or your county, now's your opportunity to grab one of them. But before I do that, I'd like to introduce Jay Norris, and he's our new Region 3 director. I'm going to hopefully I'm working with Michael and Sean to figure out an opportunity that we can get you all out to Region 3 and have Jay be able to show you around the shop there, and so that you can see the workforce that we have here in Middle Tennessee. Jay, also you have Shane Hester, and I think and then Sean Armstrong. Yeah, so these folks are here in Region 3 day in, day out on operations, maintenance, and project development. And the Commissioner kind of alluded to workforce. I think we may have talked a little bit about the reorganization of the department, and I know through our smaller group on the local project. Hey, thanks, guys. Sorry. We're looking, we're reorganizing so that we have project managers, and Sean is here for Region 3, right, for the project management, and we're filling a bunch of positions so that we have folks like Sean that are overseeing projects that are in your communities, so that we can take that 15 years and drop that to 5. And so there's a lot of work and effort going on in the project development side of things. More to come on that, but a key action that you all took on the 3-year prioritization list is a key component to helping us figure out the priorities within each of the regions across the state, and then working towards sequencing those through the process to delivery. So again, just want to thank you all for the opportunity to have the commissioner come and present. And if you have any questions of me, I'm more than happy to, or one of our staff.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Commissioner Eley. Got any questions for Commissioner and staff that maybe you forgot or didn't want to ask earlier? Anyone? Good job. Seeing no one. Thank you. Okay, we'll move down to the chair's report. I just want to say that thank you for the nomination. I need help every day. If you see I'm not giving the ball right, I'd sure appreciate a phone call. Yeah, pick me up, where I can pick your brain. And I appreciate that. Appreciate the work that the task force is doing. And with that, I'll move to our staff report. Sean?
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of other remaining items. First one that we wanted to mention is that we'll be kicking off the development of our next transportation planning work program, which documents a lot of the planning activities that the MPO staff will be working on over the coming years, next two fiscal years. And not only is that identifying a lot of the projects and planning activities that GNRC staff will be carrying out using federal planning funds, but it's also an opportunity for you to share with us planning activities that you're engaging with in your community that tie into our efforts so that we can all be coordinated within the region. And so as part of that process, we're asking you you and your staff to provide us with kind of two key items. One is sharing information on those local planning activities and planning efforts so that we can be aware of them and have them documented as part of this process, and also to help utilize that information to inform our regional priorities. And then we're also looking for you to weigh in on ideas, suggestions for regional studies. If the safety topic piqued your interest and you have an idea related to ways to improve safety planning within our region, we'd love to hear that. And so we'll provide a survey in the follow-up email, but look forward to getting responses from that. We'll keep that open until mid-February so that everybody can participate in that. Next item, I just wanted to mention just some of the upcoming topics for not only the regional council meetings, but the next Transportation Policy Board meetings. And so next month will be the regional council, and they'll be meeting in this same building, focused on not only the results of the annual mayor's caucus poll, but also be touching on the solid waste initiative and getting an update on that. We'll also be kicking off our area plan for aging and disability services that is carried out through GNRC, aging and disability division, and then we'll get some info from our economic and community development department on some of the grant opportunities that are available for local governments. And then kind of looking out into the next Transportation Policy Board meeting, we are going to move forward to that member orientation that we postponed due to getting the opportunity to hear from the commissioner today. In addition to that member orientation, we'll be adopting amendments to the Regional Transportation Plan as well as the Transportation Improvement Program. And then looking out to April, one thing to look forward to is kicking off an annual update of our comprehensive economic development strategy that is similar to our long-range transportation plan, but on the economic and community development side of guiding a lot of those federal funds that come down to our region to support economic growth within our area. And then the last thing, just a reminder, GNRC is officially moved into our new building at 44 Vantage Way, just located slightly north of here in Metro Center. All GNRC staff are now located in the same office space, and we are enjoying our new office space and look forward to future visitors and holding committee meetings and task force meetings there in the future. I think with that,
okay.
Any other business?
Thank you, Sean. I had the privilege of being in that building last week. It's really, really nice. Nice building. Hey, I'd like to thank the staff for their hard work. Some of you that are participating in that 3-star program. We had GNRC come do our program last week, and I've got several cities and mayors that were there and county commissioners. They did not fully understand what all GNRC does for us. Other than traffic, senior citizens, grants, I encourage everyone to take advantage of it. With that, I think if anybody has anything they'd like to say, if not, I'll take a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you. Leave your name tags on the table.
Yeah. Let's sit down there.